Hello and welcome to part 1 of Minecraft modding. So what we're going to do in this first video is we're going to decide what we want our mod to be. So basically what we want it to be based on, what our idea is, the whole theme of the mod. And then we're going to get our workspace created and get started by making a food as well as a creative tab. So now that we know what the objective for the day is, I'll give everyone a few minutes and I'll just pause the video here. Just think about what you want your mod to be, what you want the whole idea behind it to be, the whole theme, and then we'll go ahead and get started by creating our workspace and hopping in. So think about it for a few minutes. Once you have an idea, come back to the video and press play. Okay, so now hopefully you have an idea of what your theme for your mod is going to be, and we can go ahead and press New Workspace. So this button here with the green plus, we'll just slap that button right there, and we'll see this pop up. So it says mod display name, and that's really all we're going to have to press, or all we're going to have to fill in. So for me, I really didn't think about what I want mine to be. So I'll think about it real quick here. Lots of different things we could do in Minecraft. I'm just going to make a simple mod that adds more vanilla type stuff maybe, or just I'll call it simply more stuff. And you can see as I type that in, it filled in the rest of the stuff for me. Currently, the highest version we can mod for is 1.18.2. They are working on getting 1.19 and further implemented, but for now we're going to be on 1.18.2. So if your mod revolves around maybe some of the Skulk or Deep City stuff, just know that you can't do that yet, but maybe in a few more months they'll have it updated to that. So just a warning. But once you've typed in your name for your mod, we'll go ahead and create a new workspace down here. And just another thing, you can change the display name of your mod later on, so maybe if you want it to be different. The only thing that you can't change is like the package name and the mod ID, so even if you name it something really generic, you can always change the display name later, but these won't change, so that's fine. It's really only used when you're like looking at the IDs of items, so we'll just skip that. We'll create new workspace, press this button down here, and you should see now that it says setting up Gradle, project files, and all this different stuff about Gradle. So yours might take a little bit of time to get done, and by a little bit of time, I mean sometimes it could take up to like half an hour to run, which is a little unfortunate, but on the first one it usually does take a little while. You can see here that mine kind of went through immediately, so if yours is taking a little bit of time, just come back to the video once it's done. Like I said, it might take up to like half an hour, maybe even longer, but usually it's a little bit shorter. So once that's all figured out, just come back to the video and we can continue. Okay, so if you've clicked back on the video, it should mean that that is done. So we can get started on actually adding mods into the game. So I'm not going to do really a breakdown of kind of what you see here. I might do that in a separate video. We kind of go through the interface and everything that the MCreator has to offer, but as we go through and add stuff, a lot of these buttons will be explained, but for now, I'm just going to skim over them and just kind of leave them alone. And later on, we can go through them, or even in a separate video. If you're interested, I will kind of go through them. But all we're going to do is we're going to go up to this green plus to add our first item. And we are going to go down and find item, which is right here. Another way to add it is once you open this menu, you can also press the little letter beside these. So I can press I, and it will create, or it'll start creating an item for me. So the name of the item. So this is going to be our food. So I want to figure out maybe what this should be. So let's think about it. Maybe I could have it so that it's a combination of other foods. I could have it so it's something brand new, like maybe later on I want to add a new fruit that comes out of a bush, like a berry or something. I could do that as well, maybe in my new biome that we'll end up making, but I'll let everyone think about it for a minute and come back once you got it. Alright, so I think I got my food. I'm going to make fish and chips. So I find that you can easily make this in the game using fish, bread, and potato. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to type fish, and I can not do a space here, as you can see. So instead of spaces, I'm going to do underscores. So that is just pressing Shift and the minus button on your keyboard. It'll give you the underscore. So I can do fish and, oh, gotta type it properly first. Fish and chips. So you can see just like that. I'm allowed to use capitals here, so I'm going to separate it with capitals. Generally, I guess you wouldn't want the and to be capitalized, so I'm going to do fish and chips. Registry name, you can see, is in lower cases. And that is just because in the system, it's not going to recognize our capitals. So I'm just going to press create new item, and you can see we're brought to a new screen. For this, I'm going to split this next part into three different, I guess, sections, chapters on YouTube. Just because there are three different ways to do this, and whichever one you prefer, you can do. And even just try all three of them to start with and see which one you think is the best. So I'm just going to start with the one that's built into MCreator. There are two different ways we can do this. So regardless of which one you choose, we're going to click on this little empty box here. So you can see in order to select texture, you need to make one. So this is where we're going to split off. So the three different ways that we're going to do this require pressing these different buttons. So I'm going to start with the one that is built into MCreator, which I said there are two of them. So I'm going to press this Create Texture from Scratch button. And I'm just going to continue. So press Create. And you can see there is a drawing. I can draw here, little palette over to the side so I can get my colors. And it kind of works like any other drawing tool. So I can press Control Z to undo, and Control Z to undo. And I can just draw. There's different tools here. So there's like a line, shapes, which I can select the shape down here. A stamp, so I can obviously copy a texture and stamp it down. The fill tool, and the eyedropper. So the color picker, all I would do is click on a square that's already been filled in and I can copy that color. So I'm going to start off with this drawing here. So here I'm going to just kind of draw, I guess, a plate. And it doesn't have to be beautiful because we're going to end up filling it in. So there's like a simple little plate here. Beautiful, I know. And I'll select different colors, so wouldn't be a really tasty looking fish and chips with most of these colors, but that's okay. So maybe I'll do like some fries over here. I can maybe do something like this to make it look like there's fries. I don't know, something like that. And I'll select a different color, maybe a darker one, and just kind of fill these in. Can be fries, kind of looks like mashed potatoes, but that's okay. So I'm going to pick another color here. And you know, it doesn't really have to. We can also pick from the swatches, which we were, or we can go to the HSV here and we can pick any color we want. So maybe I want a more orangey color for my fish. And fish is going to have more of a shape to it. There we go. And I'll add some shading to it. There we go. Maybe a little bit lighter for some texture. Another lighter one just to speck on there. There we go, we got fish and chips. And now I'm just going to color my plate. I'll just do like a basic white color for it. Do my outline. It's hard to see it, but that's okay. There we are, and I'll do a little bit darker for this underside part. And there we have it, my fish and chips. And all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to move it so it's more in the center. So I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you know that it's in the exact center now. I just kind of pick the lowest and highest points and then count to the edges. And obviously I know that this already reaches the sides, so that's okay. So if you're not done yet, that's okay. Just finish up your food, pause the video, and once you're done, just come back. And if you were done faster, then good job. You're a speedy drawer. But all we're going to do now is we're going to save this texture in the top right corner. And we're going to save it as an item. And I'm going to name it fish and chips. Oh, and chips. Chips drawn. Because this is going to be a drawn version. We can do it, like I said, another way. So I'm going to do drawn 1. So I'm just going to press OK. And now it has saved that into MCreator. And I should be able to close out of this. So if I go back in by pressing this, I can see my texture here. But, like I said, there is a second way to do this. So we will do that now. Again, if you choose the first method, you don't have to do this. You can skip this. But again, I just want to show you the different options that you have for creating textures. So if you want to try the second method, you can press Create Texture here again. Again, we're just going to press Create. And it's going to bring us back to this same spot. But what we're going to do is a little bit different. So instead of drawing it by hand, we're going to go up here and press Generate from Template. So it's a little bit different. It may or may not require drawing depending on how much you can do with a template. So I want to do the same kind of idea as I had with my other one. So I had a plate with fish and fries. So I'm going to do the similar thing. So I'm going to generate from template. And you can see here I got some weird stuff going on. So I got a brick and a sword. Not great. So I'm going to change this. So again, to get to this, you would press generate from template up here. And yeah, I got kind of a mess going on here. So you can see these are done in layers. So layer 1 is a brick, layer 2 is a tool, which is a sword, and there's no layer 3 or 4 yet. So I'm going to go to layer 1. I'm going to change it by going to select texture. And I want a bowl. So you can see here, this is exactly what I want. It's already colored for me. So perfect. Now I have my bowl. And I'm going to replace this sword because I really don't want that there. So I'm going to select texture for the sword. And we'll see if I can find something that goes in the bowl. So you can see here we have bowl soup. So that might work kind of well. And you'll see, for some reason, it is rotated. So sometimes they spawn with, I guess the templates come in with random rotation. And all we do to fix that is just go down to where it says rotation right here and set that to 0. And hit enter. And there we are. Perfect. So that works for me. I have my bowl. I have my soup inside my bowl. And that's exactly what I was looking for. So, the last thing I really want to do is, I know kind of what's going on here. I have my soup inside. And, you know, this could work as my fries, I guess. But I really don't have anything to separate my fish part. So, there's two ways we can do this. We can either try to add images until we find something that works. So maybe I went in and I looked around, see if I can find something that maybe fits in that bowl kind of well. Chances are just the thing that we've chosen, or that I have chosen to do, it's not going to work all that well. So maybe I could do this die. Maybe if I set it to 0, it'll work better. And no, it does not. So you can see I'm really not going to get anything great from that. So I'm just going to select no image. And one more thing is that you can change the saturation and brightness here. So you can either get a little bit lighter food, or if you have it selected, it will darken it and give it more of an outline. Whichever one you would prefer, you can do. And we can also change the color here by pressing these 3 dots. Okay, so quick little editing note. I forgot to mention that you can also click on that swatches tab, which contains a preset amount of colors. You can click on those and it'll give you all sorts of different options, but they're usually not as good as when you go into the HSV editor, which I'm doing in this case, and I can select exactly what color I want. I can mess with the hue and just kind of get like the perfect color. So just quick little editing note, you can swap between those two. You're not limited to one or the other, but I just want to let everyone know that, and my bad. So I want to make it more fries color, so I'm going to be more orangey yellow. Kind of the same as what we had. Yeah, sure. That works. So I'm not going to be able to find anything else really that fits in here. So I'm just going to press create. Now you can see our canvas here is filled with what we have made with the templates. And I can even go in and edit this. So for mine, I don't think I really want my soup to be overflowing out of the bowl, because ours is going to be like a solid, not a liquid. So I'm going to go and I'm just going to erase these drippy parts. So I need to make sure that up here, I am selected on the soup bowl layer, or whatever layer I want to change. So obviously I don't want to delete anything from the bowl. I only want to delete the soup part of it. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to grab the eraser tool right here. And I'm just going to erase the dripping parts. So now it's a little bit cleaner. You can see it doesn't look like anything's overflowing out of it. That's exactly what I want. Next, I'm going to draw some fish. So I'm just going to kind of split the bowl in half, maybe at an angle. Kind of separate it. So the easiest way we can either do this, there's 2 ways. We can either just draw straight on our bowl soup layer, or we can make a new one. And we can call it fish or something. And you'll see here now that there's a 3rd layer. So I have bowl soup, and fish. So I can go in, I'm going to pick a color here. Maybe I'll pick, I don't want to have like the same color as the bowl, so I'll pick something like this. That looks good. Make it a little bit darker. Kind of like that. And I'll add some light spots. So I got my fish and chips. The chips really don't look all that much like fries, but that's okay. It doesn't have to look 100%. You can always change the texture later on. But I think that looks good. I'm liking how that works. So I think we're good to save it. So you go up to save this texture. I'm going to save it as an item. And I'm going to save it as fish and chips. Oh my goodness. From template. And I'll press OK. And now we should have another texture saved here. So you can see for these first two that I've done, it has made them already in MCreator. I don't have to do any kind of importing into it or anything. I just have them here available to me. So for this next one, this third option, this is going to be done outside of MCreator. So it's going to be completely different than what we just did. So I would recommend watching those first two together and watch this third one separately because it really doesn't relate to the other two. Okay, so this is the third version of creating a spread I was talking about. And this is going to be using a website called Piskel. I will provide the link in the description down below. But simply all this is just a online kind of sprite editor, just like we used that one that was built into MCreator. The only difference is this one's a little bit easier to use for stuff like animations. So if we want to have our food animated, maybe we're going to have an animated weapon down the road. It's a little bit easier to animate everything in here. The only downside is you have to save your pictures and then import them into MCreator, which can be a little bit annoying, but you do get a little bit more freedom with drawing, and there's a few more tools that you can use. So again, I'll provide the link to this in the description down below, but all you're going to have to do is press Create Sprite. And that'll take us to a canvas. And it's kind of similar to what we saw in MCreator, but there are, like I said, a few more tools over to the left-hand side here. You'll see up here, this would be a preview of our animation. And then there are some transform tools. So kind of just moving things around. We can align it to the center and a bunch of fun stuff. And then there are preferences. We can resize the canvas, which we are actually going to do. And we can export it, which we will need to do as well once we are done. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to resize our canvas because it is currently a 32 by 32 canvas. You can see if I draw, it's way bigger than what we did in, I guess if you haven't watched the MCreator part, this is way bigger than what we had in MCreator. So generally Minecraft deals with textures that are 16 by 16 pixels, and here we have 32 by 32. So all we're going to do is resize the canvas to be 16 by 16. That lines up with what we have in Minecraft. So there's two things I'm going to change here. Well, three. I'm going to change the width here to 16. And you can see it automatically changes the height as well because we have maintain aspect ratio turned on. And all that means is it's going to keep like this side in line to be scaled with the, so height is going to be scaled with width, basically is what it is. So I'll go back to resize and change what I did. So it should be 16 by 16 here. We're also going to change the default size, but first we're just going to press resize here. We'll close that and we can see now it is 16 by 16 in this bottom right corner. And again, we're going to go to resize and change default size to 16 by 16. You will have to change both of these numbers, and then we're going to press set default. So now if you are going to use MCreator in the future, Every time you open it up on your same device and same browser, it will default to being 16 by 16, so you don't have to change that every single time you create a texture. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to simply draw a fish and chips. Maybe I'll do something similar to what I did before, or this is going to give me the opportunity to do something a little bit different. So, let's start off by just drawing our bowl, like our plate, I guess. I have a bowl or a plate, I'm not too sure. So I'll just kind of start somewhere in the middle here, kind of like that. Make a nice bowl or a plate, more of a plate. So that's good, kind of what I want. Now I'm going to select more colors. Maybe I'll start with my chips, or fries as we call them in North America. So I can draw in some yellow. Man, these are McDonald's fries if I've ever seen McDonald's fries. These are very bright. So I can maybe tone it down a little bit here. Maybe I'll make it a little bit brighter. It's all about finding that perfect color. Oh, there we go. Perfect. And I'm just going to shade it. So again, you don't have to follow along with what I'm doing. You can totally make your own texture. Doesn't have to be fish and chips. Again, it's going to be kind of related to whatever mod you're making. And again, I'll just kind of add some spice to it. Some more colors. Perfect. I like that. Kind of looks like corn, but that's okay. Next, I'm going to add my fish. So I'm going to make it a little bit more orangey, a little bit darker. I'm going to draw some sort of fish shape. Generally, the fish, when you get fish and chips, is quite big. Just a big old piece of fried fish. So I'm going to do a big old piece of fried fish. And I'll color it up, shade it in. Alright, I don't know if I'm going to use what just happened, but basically my Google decided to play a song. And hopefully it didn't hear me this time. But it played a song called Fried Fish, and not what I wanted. So basically what I did is I just added a piece of fried fish and gave it a little bit of shading. And I'm going to continue shading it here. That, I don't know if I'm really feeling that color. Okay. There we go. And I can continue to fill in my plate here. Wow, that's really bright. A little bit darker. There we go. And I'll just kind of update the color of my plate. Make it lighter on the top and darker on the bottom. Okay. A little bit darker than that on the bottom. So the idea behind this is that maybe our sun is coming in from the top left up here, or our light source, so we want to give it a little bit of shine up there. So that's all that is. I could animate this, but I don't know why I would animate a plate of fish and chips, so I'm not going to worry about doing that. There is a few different tools here. I can dither it, which again, you kind of have to know what you're doing to dither it. It revolves around these two colors, creating a checkerboard pattern. I can lighten or darken, so you can see, depending on if I hold control, it'll darken it. If I just press it normally, it will lighten. So I'm not going to worry about that too much. Maybe later on in another video we go through, I will work with these tools a little bit more. But yeah, there's a few different options you can have here to do some pretty cool stuff. But I think I like where my food has ended up. If you're still working on it, you can pause it here because I'm going to end up saving it to my computer and importing it into MCreator. Okay, so I'm going to press save here. I'm going to give it a name. So obviously I'm just going to call it fish and chips. And I'm going to save it in my browser. So as long as we don't switch browsers, clear our cache, then this will stay in our browser and we can always go back and work on it again. If you're a little bit worried about that, you can also save as .piskel, and it will download it to your computer as the raw file that works with this browser editor. But I'm going to trust my browser. I don't think I'm going to clear my cache. So all I'm going to do now is export. So the export is this little picture. And I want to save it as a PNG. So I'm going to press this PNG tab here. And I'm going to do selected frame export because we don't have a animation. We can just export this single frame. If we were doing an animation, we would probably either do it as a sprite sheet or as a GIF, but I'm just going to do a single selected frame export. So we'll press download. You can see here, I'm going to end up blurring this all out, but here is my downloads, and I'm just going to press save. You can see it is now downloaded to my computer, and we can return to MCreator. So we'll flip to that now. All right, so we're back in MCreator. All I'm going to do is I'm going to import my texture in. So here I'm going to press import texture because it's a little bit different. We're not creating one in the built-in editor. We're just going to be adding one that we created online. So I'll press import texture. It's going to open up my file system. So I'm going to have to locate where it's downloaded to, which would be my downloads. And here, fish and chips.png. Don't know why it saved it like that, but it did. And I'll click on it. I can either double click or click on it once and press open. And you can see it adds it in right here. So those are three different ways of doing this. Again, I would say if you didn't watch all three of them, maybe go back and do that just because it does give you three different options that we can use moving forward. Because I'm not going to end up doing this again. I'll probably just create them off screen and then let you do whatever version you want. In this case, I do have three different fish and chips I can pick from. And it's hard to say which one I like most. I like this one because the fries look most like fries. This one looks like mush. But this one does look more like a normal Minecraft texture, so I think I'm going to go with this one. Press select. I have my fish and chips here. And we can get to adding in our item. So I'm going to, we won't have to do anything here. We could add a description, but it makes it a little bit messy as none of the other items in Minecraft do have descriptions. So I'm going to skip doing this altogether. I'm going to skip the glowing effect. That would make it look kind of like a golden apple, like an enchanted golden apple. Give it that enchanted effect. So I'm going to skip that as well. Properties. You can see I have in-game name. It's kind of formatted a little bit weird. It's not called fish hand chips. It is fish and chips with spaces between and fish and chips. I'm just gonna space that out. And here we have rarity common, creative inventory tab. We're not gonna mess with this yet because we're gonna add our own in. I'm gonna leave that for now. Max stack size, I'm gonna set it to 1 because it's gonna be a bowl. So when we consume it, it's going to drop a bowl again, right? So if I were to do it 64 and you just had a stack of these and you're munching on them and it keeps dropping bowls, that's a mess. Enchantability, we're not going to worry about because this is a food. Most of the stuff, like this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. We're going to skip. Uh, we're actually going to skip all until we have. Actually, we're just going to skip all of them. So we're going to leave the item animation as eat. This is basically how long it takes to eat our food. I think generally it's around 16 ticks, so I'm going to say 18. And ticks have a weird, conversion to seconds. I think it's 1 second is 20 ticks, so this will take just under a second to eat. But again, I'm just going to skip most of this until these last two, just because most of these are related to items, so we don't need to worry about those. So next, I'm going to move on to food properties at the bottom here. Yes, this is a food. Nutritional value. So this is going to be how many bars of hunger it fills. Because mine has so many different foods in it, I'm going to say, a quick side note before I even type this down. When it says 4 would be like 2 full pieces of food on the little bar. So let's say we did 1.5, or we did 3, it would fill 1 full one and a half, because each one counts as a half of the hunger bar. So 4 would be 2 full ones. So let's say I wanted to heal 8. I would do 16. Saturation is how long it takes before you are hungry again. So sometimes these little question marks show other values to compare to. This one does not. So I'm going to set it at a saturation of 6, because it's pretty filling. Eating item results. I want it to drop the bowl back. So if you don't want it to drop anything once you eat it, you're not going to worry about this. But again, I want to get the bowl back once I've consumed my food. So I'm just going to look for a bowl. Here it is, and use selected item. So now, once I eat my food, I will get a bowl. Is this food meat? This means, can I feed it to a dog? I'm going to say probably feeding fried fish and chips, or I guess fries, to a dog is not the optimal strategy here. So I'm going to say it is not meat. Is it always edible? That would be for something like a golden apple, or an enchanted golden apple, where it gives you like effects, where it gives you those extra hearts. So mine's not going to really do anything special. It's purely a food, so I'm just going to say it is not always edible. We don't need to mess around with advanced properties, and we also don't need to mess around with triggers. So once we are done with the food properties tab, we can just go up here and save mod element. And you can see fish and chips has been added to the game. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do very quickly is I'm going to add in a new element here. I'm going to add in a creative tab here, so you can either find it and click on it or press W. And here we're going to basically give it the same name as our mod. So I name mine more stuff. And remember, no spaces, you need underscores. So you can see I've named it more stuff. And once I have named it, I can press create new creative tab. And here again, we have the creative tab name, man, I can't speak, is going to be called more stuff. Tab icon. So this is why we created our food before we created this creative tab. It's because I'm going to fill in this tab icon with our fish and chips, which should be the first item in the top left corner. Whenever we add stuff, it'll always be on this side here. It'll never be mixed in with the other stuff. It'll always be on this very left side. So I've used selected item. And I'm not going to have show search bar, just because we're not going to have so many things that we're going to need a search bar for it. Unless you continue with this mod after. Maybe you'll add like 1 million items. Who knows? But I don't think I'm going to do that, so I'm not going to do show search bar. And that one is very simple. There's no more pages we have to go through. We can just press save mod element. And now I have my fish and chips and my more stuff creative tab. And now there's one more thing we have to do, because if you remember when we went through and worked on our fish and chips, It's in the miscellaneous creative tab. Not really what this is, right? It's more of a food. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to double click on my fish and chips food item here. Again, yours might be whatever you want. And I'm just going to go back to properties. And I'm going to change creative inventory tab here to my custom one, which if I scroll up, it should be this first one here. It says custom and then whatever you named it. And I'll click on that. And now, when we run the game, it will be in its own creative tab. And I'll save mod element just to get that save back up. And the next thing we will do is we will run our game. So I should have these two items here. When I boot up the game, you will be able to find them. And to run the game, all we're going to do is go up to this top right corner here. And you should see this green play button. If you don't see it, it's probably just because everything's still compiling. So if you give it a minute or two, eventually it should pop up. And once it does, you can press Run Client. And Minecraft will start booting up. It'll take a little bit of time. And depending on your PC specs, it might take a while. It might take a very short amount of time. Let's see, mine booted up pretty quickly. So once we're in the game, so here we go, reload it up. I'll just full screen this. So we're just going to create a new single player creative world. I'm just going to name it fish and chip. Oh my goodness, test. And I'll create new world. So just make sure you're on creative. And we'll create new world. All right, and we are in. Okay. So you can see I've spawned here. I am in creative mode, so I can go through and I'm going to find my fish and chips. So you can now see up here there is a 1 out of 2. Generally Minecraft doesn't have that, so it means that our creative tab worked. So we now have a new one. So to navigate to our creative tab, we're just going to press this arrow here to move to the next page of tabs. And here we have our custom one right here. When I click on it, I get my fish and chips. Give myself a few of them. So got a few of them now, and see I can eat them. But we're in creative, so it doesn't really work all that well. So I'm just gonna say game mode, survival. And then I gotta kind of injure myself, so I will come back when I have enough bars of hunger down to eat my food properly. Alright, so I have exhausted myself to the point where I can no longer run. I know that it will fill up 8 bars of hunger, but you can see down here I only have 7 bars of hunger that I need to fill up. So I'm just going to consume my food, because why not? I'm just going to eat it, and you can see I got a bowl. That's exactly what I wanted. It filled up those 7 bars of hunger, and I am healing once again. I shouldn't be hungry for a little while because our saturation is set decently high. And that is ideal for what we want. So that was part 1 of the Minecraft modding badge. And I see I ate another one. And when we come back next time, we will work on adding some new blocks into the game. But thank you for watching. That is all for today, and I will see you in the next video.